Howdy, howdy, folks of the internet, and welcome back to another edition of the ONETA Show, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, I'm your host, Evan Davies. I will be flying solo today, as I have just returned from my 3-week long adventure to the last frontier of Alaska. But we're back in the real world today. We got news, notes, highlights through entertainment, plus it's football season finally. So we're going to be doing, as you saw in the thumbnail, full NFL season preview, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get to that, but beforehand, we're going to do a little bit of news and notes in the world of entertainment. We got two topics to talk about that had been heavily discussed on the show before, so we're going to go straight to those entertainment topics. I'm thinking right here, right now, time for some wrestling. Oh. We're going to go first to the events of Bash in Berlin, the latest PLE from the WWE. Bash in the Berlin. Overall, I thought it was a fun show. I'm not going to go super long into Bash in Berlin. Frankly, I think it was a fun show. Germany had a lot of energy. I'm not sure they were Backlash, which happened in France. But we're getting accustomed to seeing these international markets when the WWE gets there for a premium live event, which was formerly known as a pay-per-view. They would, when you got to a foreign market for a PLE, shit hit the fan because shit was real. Like, this was a fan base that's been starved for content. They maybe get the WWE once a year. So then to have them here in Germany was very fun. They brought a ton of energy. I'm just not sure they were Backlash, which was insanely, insanely positive and fun energy. But again, overall, I thought it was a really fun show. Show opener, Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. Oddly enough, when I was listening and I was hearing and watching, I didn't see the same energy for a Cody match that I normally would. It still was great, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the same style Cody match that everyone's just so invested in Cody. Still a really good story. This was a great way to play character. This was the Kevin Owens feud, if you will. It's a filler feud to see where we're going, in my opinion. But I thought they did a lot of good character work, building on Kevin's past indiscretions with former partners, teammates, friends, whatever you may have it. But overall, fun match. I'm getting a little tired of seeing the three crossroads to finish a match. I'd like to see us get away from that personally, but overall, fun match. Women's tag match, slightly sloppy, but still a lot of fun pieces there that I thought were interesting. I don't know why short-term booking you'd go away from Bianca and Jade with a title to just put it right back on them 2 months later, but maybe that was a Clash at the Castle decision where we're going to get a hometown crowd esque reaction, or just change pace. Who knows? It was an interesting decision. So now to have it right back on them, it was a good match. Jade's getting better. I did appreciate it. I love the intensity that all four women in the match showed. That was really fun. Again, it wasn't great, but it was still a good match. And I'm loving the fact that we're only getting 5-6 matches on these cards. We're not getting overloaded with match after match. So that's really fun. Now we go to, I wasn't disappointed, but was certainly the reason I was tuning in. My boy CM Punk, who is an absolute hero of mine. I was tuning in for the strap match. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. I'm a little surprised at how definitive that finish was. It was obvious to me that the strap match was the convoy into Hell in a Cell. I don't think Hell in a Cell is clearly the finale for the two of them. Punk's got to win that one as the babyface, so to speak. But it was such a definitive win at the end for Punk that it almost kind of, you're waiting for more melodrama to happen. It almost didn't come. Fun match. Wasn't the strap match um, classic that Punk put on with MJF back in AEW a couple years back. But still, really fun match and a lot of good character building. That's the thing that people do not realize with this match. They just kind of shit on it. Is Punk does character well and brings that out of others. And I think that's the best part about Punk's matches now. Is even if they're not the 5-star classics that 2011, 2012, 13 CM Punk fans were used to, or ROH fans before that, you're getting still such great character and story work that it's near impossible to dislike what's happening. So hats off to him there. It was clear that at the end they were trying to say, "Oh, it's the end." It's clearly not the end, and we saw that from Monday Night Raw. That the end is not here. We're going to continue with this storyline. We're going into Bad Blood. Now I can't recall if we have Hell in a Cell as an actual event or if we're going to Bad Blood, but regardless, or if Bad Blood is kind of taking the place of Hell in a Cell. Regardless, this is going to end up in a Hell in a Cell match or a big cage match of some kind, as it should. And then we're going to start transitioning Punk with Seth, which is going to be really fun. Overall, I liked the match. Wasn't in love. Then going the, I think the sloppiest match on the card was actually the Judgment Day special. Rhea Ripley, Damian Pierce, Damian Priest versus Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. I think the character work on all four of them has been really good going into this. Really fun with that matchup. We're clearly seeing it's not the end, but that's what I don't understand about the finish. This match is a little bit sloppier than I'd like it to be. A lot of good moments. Rhea getting her hands on Dominic was really smart. Rhea getting her hands on Liv Morgan, also really smart. Very, very enjoyable in moments. But then the Judgment Day interference was a kind of meh. And then to still have a definitive finish in which Rhea and Damien get their hands raised makes no sense to me. That's one where I would have cheated them out of another victory. I don't understand the booking there. Because then it feels far more like, okay, we finished it. You didn't finish anything now with Rhea saying, I'm going to pretty much, on Monday Night Raw, we're seeing her, she's going to take out frustrations and she's going to keep Liv and Dom's life a living hell, all this kind of stuff. But I don't understand this finish. It was a fine match. It wasn't bad. A lot of good character moments. Wasn't crazy about it. Finally, the real highlight of the night it was our man Gunther, the Ring General, just over the border from his home country of Austria. Really made his name in Germany. This was such a good passing of the torch match from Randy to Gunther. The thing with Randy matches is that I don't think this was a Randy classic. I don't think this is the best match either men have had. But this was a really good, big hoss fight style feel, in which it was big fight feel. And a veteran just getting outgunned by a younger competitor. Although it's pretty evenly matched. I thought Randy looked really good in this, but I thought Gunther, hard hitting, but was countered in ways he's never been countered before. That was really fun to see. The chop to the back was great. I loved that chop to the back. And then to get a loss by a sleeper hold, one I thought was really smart. Never see that in today's WWE really anymore. But on top of that, you get a match in which you can really definitively say Gunther hangs with Randy, and that Gunther is the man of the hour for the next couple of years alongside Cody and Roman, which I really appreciate, and elevates him as that pure wrestler superstar, which I always love. So overall, I liked Bash Berlin. I thought it was really fun and an interesting match concept. And I loved the length of it. I loved how fast we were getting through this PLE. Everything felt special because we weren't inundated with too much. So that I really appreciate. And the German crowd was really fun. I just don't know if it, in terms of international crowds, I don't think this was either Backlash from the last 2 years, from France or Puerto Rico. Clash at the Castle maybe rivals that one from this past Scotland one, but we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited to see where everything goes. We're seeing more Wyatt Six on Raw. We're getting more Bloodline with Roman returning now. So it's going to be really interesting how we go forward. And we're getting mighty close to that transition to Netflix in 2025, and that's going to really open some doors and change how WWE is viewed. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But that was a quick review of Bash at Berlin. Now, before we go to another topic, I gotta ask you, my friends, if you love what you're seeing, which I hope you do, I hope you want to support us. And if you want to support us, head on over to our Etsy shop. Go to ptecreative.etsy.com. And there you can find all kinds of fun, cool merch. And we got more merch coming very shortly because I got some very important program notes for you at the end of the show. But head on over to Etsy shop. Go to ptecreative.etsy.com. There you can find all kinds of cool stuff with stickers and hoodies, hats, and t-shirts, all kinds of fun stuff over there. And then we are also updating, my apologies, that got stuck there, but we are updating our merchandise very quickly. Thank you for some former sales at the Pokemon department. That was really fun this past couple weeks, filling a lot of those orders. So head on over to ptecreative.etsy.com and go get yourself some cool merch, all surrounding the show. Have a fun time while you're doing it, while you reward yourself. But let's get right back to it, folks. And we're going to go now to not my Pokemon, because that's ridiculous, because that's tomorrow's show. But Octagon was last week. No, we go from Basher and Berlin to a completely different epic. One that's not as highly reviewed, and we're going to go to the Rings of Power. So, for longtime PT Creative listeners or viewers, it's probably known by now. Big fantasy fan. I love Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge Tolkien nerd. And to get Rings of Power back is both enjoyable and so vexing. Because, frankly, it's just like everyone else on the internet's kind of said. It's just a problematic show in a lot of ways, and it's difficult. Now, I don't want to go off completely negative. I didn't hate season 1 of Rings of Power. It just, Rings of Power to me feels like cosplay Lord of the Rings. This feels like people that love it but don't fully grasp it making Lord of the Rings and making what they want of Lord of the Rings, not making Lord or any of the wonderful Middle Earth text. Now, it's important to note it's during the Second Age of Tolkien's text. Many of this comes from Unfinished Tales, the Silmarillion, things of that nature. Those expanded texts that were produced, some even after or posthumously of J.R.R. Tolkien. But the thing that always drives me with Rings of Power is there is unique storytelling and there's intriguing characters, but they don't necessarily work within the context of what we know. I think that's my way of saying it. With Rings of Power, we're now getting problems in which we don't need. You're now getting to what's ironic and funny to me is as we're getting closer to Tolkien lore and being a little bit more faithful to the storytelling aspects in some ways, such as Sauron being, sorry, spoiler alert, but as we are getting, I'll give you 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. As we're getting to Sauron now disguising himself as Anatar, the ruler of gifts or the giver of gifts. As we get to Anatar, creating the rings of power that will ultimately corrupt men and have a negative impact on the dwarves and all kinds of that. As we get closer to the gap, we're getting Celebrimbor saying ridiculous comments like, "Oh, you're gonna be a Lord of the Rings." It's like, how fucking on the nose do we want to be here, guys? But we're getting a little bit more faithful interpretation. We're getting Numenor going towards Farazan or our Farazan, and and getting closer to the downfall of Numenor. That's really good. Then we're also getting kind of a bootleg Gandalf with the stranger, which I don't even dislike the character. It just doesn't feel right. Um, we're getting that. You know, I like Nori. I like the hobbits, but they just don't fit in this realm right now. Doesn't really work. We're focusing on them, and then we're getting this tale of Isildur and trying to get back to Numenor, which I'm fine with. You know, I understand there's going to be slight changes made. It's not as if Peter Jackson's movies didn't change anything about the Lord, but they were very, very faithful. And to get this, and it in some ways feels so expansive and so great. And if you are not a Tolkien fan, and you're just watching fantasy for fantasy, you're just watching because you love fantasy. I don't think this show is bad. But when you're watching as a Tolkien fan or watching as someone who's trying to get a bit of that nostalgia from the old Lord of the Rings films by Peter Jackson, or even the Hobbit films by Peter Jackson, you're going to get wildly disappointed. I think that trend continues here into season two. The first three episodes, I don't want to say the word boring, but they didn't grasp my attention as much as I was hoping they would. I'm hoping for a turn. I'm very, very excited to see how they play Numenor, um, how the High Council is formed a little bit more. I'm excited about that, but just some wonky stuff going on and taking liberties with stuff that I don't think. And that's not just my opinion; it's a lot of people's opinion online. But nonetheless, it's again, it's an opinion; it's all subjective. So if you're enjoying the show, good for you. Hope you enjoy it. For me, I'm going to continue to watch and be cautiously optimistic. I think is the best way to say it. But I'm not going to go crazy being like, "Oh yeah, it's great, I love it," because I'm never going to lie to you guys and say I will do that. But that is a quick update on the Rings of Power season two. We've gotten 3 episodes thus far as the release episode. I will be watching probably Friday morning the next episode, episode 4, because I got to get ready for that football season, baby, and I got to watch Kansas City and Baltimore play this opening. Now, before we get to some football, though, I do want to remind you we got all kinds of stuff over on the channel for you guys to watch and keep up with. If you want to keep supporting this, but you don't have the resources, which totally understand, you just want to be able to click on something and enjoy some content, I get it, because we're all human beings. Over at PT Creative, we got all kinds of fun stuff. Currently, we've got programming Monday through Saturday. Which I'm going to have a news and note item about that pretty quickly. But with that being said, you got Pokemon card pack openings. Tuesday, nothing's changing. It's the ONETA Show. You're already here, you already know, and you already love it. Wednesday, Bliss and Oblivion Project, new Pokemon, new Fakemon of the Helzari region. Very fun. Check out some cool artwork there. Thursday, ONETA Football Show. You're going to get primed for it right now. And Friday, we're still going to have a lot of rotational stuff. And then that means Saturday, the very fun, the ever-loving fun show known as the ONETA Movie Show, as it is right now, is going, and it's a lot of fun. This Saturday, we are continuing our big box office series. We're talking about The Dark Knight, which you want to talk about perfect entertainment. The Dark Knight is that. And we got a lot of fun stuff on that episode. We're releasing or showcasing some of the next couple projects that we're doing on that. It's going to be there. So go check out the ONETA Movie Show on Saturdays as well. We're going to have more news and notes about programming at the end of the show. Before we get there, like I said, we got football to talk about. So we're going from Rings of Power to this current NFL season. Now, so in this preview, this is kind of part 1 of 2, kind of, because I'm going to finish up some of these pieces in the ONETA Football Show on Thursday. So if you're liking this, be sure to go over Thursday to get a full game. But it's going to be happening today. Like a crazy person, every year I pick every single game going into the season just to see how I really feel about a team. It's really easy to say, oh, I think they're going to be this. But then if you look at a schedule, it's a lot more difficult because you're like, well, maybe this, maybe this. So for you today, I have predicted every single team's record, every single one. I'm going to give you a little bit about each team and whether I think you should have some hope here or not. So that is how we're going to be doing this season preview for the ONETA Show today. So let's head on over to our schedule view. This is our big, ugly box of 2024 knowledge here. So we're going to go team by team here, folks. Arizona Cardinals. I'm predicting a team that's going to go 5-12 here with a signature win over Seattle. With them, here's my biggest thing: is this you're starting to see pieces melding in Arizona. This was a team that was around the 5-win mark last year that was competitive in a lot of games. And once they got Kyler Murray, they were really cooking. Had they had Kyler last year at the beginning of the season, I'm pretty confident they would have had a much better season of around the 8. But we're still seeing a talent deficient team here. We're seeing pieces come in. Paris Johnson's a nice piece. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a huge addition to that team, which I really appreciate. I just think they're missing the pieces, but to go further than that. But it's a good team overall. Positives are definitely Kyler and the pieces. The detriments is the defense looks pretty empty, frankly. So it's hard to value that even more than what I now. So when I look at Arizona, I could see them a swing anywhere from the 8-win mark down to the 3-win mark simply because of the talent team. But I think there's still hope because you're going to see a lot of competitive ball here in Arizona. Then we go to Atlanta. Atlanta's a team that I'm not super high in Atlanta. I don't understand why everyone's thinking that because they got Kirk Cousins magically they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't understand that at all. I can understand them getting better because they have functional quarterback play. That's the difference between the Minnesota Vikings of 2018 that thought, oh, let's get Kirk Cousins, we'll go to the Super Bowl versus Atlanta. Atlanta didn't have functional play. So now getting functional play is going to get them better. I think that is the case here. In Atlanta, I'm going to pick them to go 10-7 with a signature win. I still don't think magically Kirk Cousins changes this team to be a world beater to then go, especially coming off an Achilles injury, to go be a Super Bowl team. I do not see that at all. Positives here, you got in a quarterback here, you got new fun energy, and it looks like your offensive pieces are going to be used a lot better. That, huge positive. Your detriments here. You have a ticking time bomb in Michael Penix Jr., in which if Kirk Cousins struggles, coming off the injury, what have you, and you start off really slow, I can see that going really, really poorly. That plus, I still don't think that defense has a pass rush to be a real contributor to a Super Bowl conversation. So that's why I'm saying Atlanta's not a Super Bowl contender here. But there's hope in Atlanta for you. Less, and I think you are going to be probably a playoff team, especially in the division. But nonetheless, we're going to go there. I'm going to keep it just on the schedule view for a little bit here. We're going to go to Baltimore. Baltimore, I have predicted to be the record-wise the best team in the NFL during the 20. Signature wins over Kansas City and Cincinnati is a prediction for me. A big thing for me with Baltimore is they addressed need pretty well. They did lose a lot of defensive pieces. Difficult. But if you look, they were a very balanced team that had more potential on offense and found some in the free agency market with Derrick Henry pickup. That's a big positive. The negatives here are going to be that Baltimore, you know what, I'll keep switching. The negatives here in Baltimore, do you have the continuity? I think Lamar and the offense can keep them in a match, and you kind of got a little sneak preview of what I'm thinking of Thursday, but nonetheless. And I will be talking that game preview at the end of this show, too. So, of Kansas City and Baltimore. So it's in the record beforehand for that game. But positives are obvious. Your offensive continuity with Lamar Jackson. Your negative is defensive continuity now that you've lost multiple coaches, multiple players? How do you respond? I still think they respond really well, and they in their 1 seed in the AFC. All right. Buffalo. Buffalo is an interesting one because it's 11-6. I think 11-6 is also a little too high for them. I have Atlanta not having a big swing. I don't have Baltimore having a big swing. I could see them maybe a 1 or 2 game swing. I would not be shocked, and this is going to be crazy. I would not be shocked if Buffalo dropped 4 more games than they have, or if they magically won 12 games. I gave them the high road. I don't know why I did that. I think it's just Josh Allen, but this is a team that perpetually just keeps losing pieces and not gaining them. I like the Keon Coleman pickup. Your positive is you still have Josh Allen, who wills you into existence at the end. That's great, and I showed that in my record. But your negatives, you just don't have any continuity on the defense really anymore. You've lost a lot of pieces, and a lot of your former pieces were injured as well. So or your good pieces that you have are coming off an injury, such as Matt Milano. So where do you go? I literally would not be shocked if Buffalo fell off the face this season. I wouldn't. I know that's difficult. I still think there's hope because you have Josh Allen, but nonetheless, it's difficult to see that in Buffalo. Carolina's a team I have a little bit more hopeful. I've got them at the 4-13 mark. I wouldn't be shocked if they won up to 6 or 7, but I also could see them winning 2. So it's a bottom feeder team at best. My issues in Carolina are this: you are going to an unproven coach, and your defense is still suspect. That's problematic. Here are your positives. Bryce Young looks like he's going to finally have a functional offensive line. Not great, but functional, so you can at least evaluate your quarterback, see what that is. And you've got some more functional pieces. I'm not a huge Xavier Legette guy, but still a young, functional receiver with some explosion to him. Deontay Johnson's a good pickup. Adam Thielen's not going to be the number one target on this team. That's the best part about Carolina right now. And you got Jonathan Brooks. So you have some pieces there on offense to be competitive and win some games. I think they have a signature win over Atlanta this year. So I'm going to go 4-13 Carolina. And I don't want to say hope. That's not fair. I want to say no hope for now. I think it still could be positive, frankly. It's all on how you look at it. Chicago's an interesting one. I am a lot higher on Chicago than most Packer fans probably would be. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a huge asset to them, and that is the positive, which is why I'm giving them a 9 record. It's just the NFC is loaded more than people believe it is, and I have them just outside the playoff mix. But I think Caleb Williams is going to get himself a signature win today, and that's a huge positive. Your negatives in Chicago are simple. Defensive continuity. Eberflus last year as a coach did a really good job taking that defense to. That's great. But are you going to get the same consistent play that you were getting towards the end of the season in Chicago? I am not sure. And defense is not historically a consistent measure of a team. Offense is. Defense is not. So I think the players are there. I think they can still be very good. I wouldn't be shocked if they rattled off 10 this year, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they rattled off 7. So you're in the mix in Chicago, and you have a competitive team, and now with, I think, who's going to be a very, very competent quarterback for all time. It's just, are you going to Chicago it? It's your big one. Cincinnati. This is going to be a team that could really bust a prediction for me. I have Cincinnati going 8-9. I think both your positives are your negatives as well. If you've watched the ONETA Football Show in the past couple weeks, as we've had a good friend of the show, Brandon Hollings, on to discuss, both Brandon and I, Brandon more so than I even, are not high on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is obviously a very good quarterback. Can't take that play away from him. However, his injury considerations are problematic. They have problems at the wide receiver position with Higgins not getting paid Tyler Boyd is no longer there. You don't have a super functional tight end anymore. Um, you lost Joe Mixon, which, as much as Joe Mixon, I don't think is the world breaker running back, was a very good, consistent contributor for the team. It's more and more on Joe Burrow. And I don't know with his injuries history. Like your positives, hey, you got Joe Burrow, great. But your negatives, you got Joe Burrow coming off an injury. Half his career is spent on the injured reserve, and you're starting to see the fracturing of that team that happens when teams do not take care of business ahead of time. So in Cincinnati, I could see a real swing negatively, and that's where I'm going with 8 and 9. I wouldn't be shocked if they lost as many as 10 games. And I know that's crazy, maybe even 11. And people can say, oh, you're just a hater. Just looking at what I'm seeing, I'm not impressed with Cincinnati. But they have Joe Burrow, and if he plays well and he stays uninjured and they can just bomb it to Jamar Chase, a 10-win fringe playoff team is not insane either. But a problem I have with Cincinnati in general is this. Cincinnati is talked about as if they are part of a triumvirate of power in the AFC, where it's Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati. That is not true at all. There are two main players in the AFC. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Kansas City and Baltimore. Anyone who says it's Kansas City and Cincinnati is wrong. Anyone who says Kansas City and Buffalo is wrong. Kansas City is the only one that has proven to be consistent, winning fractures every single year. Buffalo has not. Cincinnati. Buffalo has done more than Cincinnati, but Buffalo has not right now at this point. Cincinnati is not. They had one big year, and everyone remembers the one big year. Don't remember the other things. It's problematic. So I can't give Cincinnati that much credit. I'm going 8 and 9 there. That could blow up my predictions. That's a big one for me. But Lions Cincinnati. Then we go to Cleveland. We stay in division. A different kind of 9 and 8 with a signature win over Dallas. I could see them winning about 10 games, maybe 11 if things break their way. But I could also see them winning 7. My issue in Cleveland is this: it's your quarterback. Positives are this: you have defensive continuity. You got some playmakers. You have a lot of continuity on this team. The problem is you have continuity at the quarterback position, which is you have no continuity. Deshaun Watson has been a total bust in Cleveland. Prior to his legal issues, when we did not know the kind of person Deshaun Watson was, not only was I a huge fan of Deshaun Watson, I was a huge fan of him as a player, and I thought he had the potential to be a top 2 quarterback in the league along with Patrick Mahomes. That's what I thought he was. Since losing all that time, his career has gone nowhere but south. And obviously, he as a person is incredibly that's to go without saying. But Cleveland has no continuity at the quarterback position. And I would not be shocked if they finally just call it with Jameis Winston and just say, take the next half of the year, because Deshaun Watson's that problematic. So I got 9 and 8. I could see them swinging, but they're a weird mixed team. Whereas I think it's a no hope situation in Cincinnati, but I could be wrong about. Cleveland, I'm like, you could be hopeful, but you could also really die on that hill. I don't know if you really want to do that. We're going back to Dallas. First of all, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not high on Dallas. I don't think Dallas is nearly that good. I think Dallas outperformed their own abilities last year, and I have Dallas going 9 and 8. There's a part of me that wanted to go even worse. I think they will be consistent in who they are, with the signature win over Philadelphia at home, but that's also because I am not super high on Philadelphia. My issues in Dallas are this: your positives are here. Your star players are all still here. And you're working with your big 3 of Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. Great. How have you gotten any better than last? That's your negative. They have added no one of substance whatsoever. If your greatest contributor positively to you changing is Mike Zimmer, who I used to be a big fan of Mike Zimmer as a coach. I think his style of play kind of wore down a lot of people. I don't know if it's going to work in the defensive scheme that they have. People are going to try to say, "Oh, Trayvon Diggs is back." Trayvon Diggs is not a net positive to me. He's a net neutral at best. Um, I'm never impressed with, never impressed with Trayvon Diggs. I mean, hell, he got double-digit interceptions one year and still was a liability to the point where he was not defensive. That should tell you what kind of player Trayvon. Um, but they have a difficult schedule, and your positives are you have your stars. Your negatives are you haven't changed. You haven't done anything to get better, and you need to get better. Green Bay exposed you last year. San Francisco exposed you last year. Philadelphia exposed you last year. Multiple teams that showed to be good last year expose you. There's nothing positive in Dallas. I'm going 9-8, missing the playoff. And it's head chopping time for a lot of people down in Dallas. That is what I'm predicting because that's what it feels like right here. We'll go to Denver. Denver, I'm a little bit higher on. Something tells me Sean Payton's going to do something decent with that team. I don't know why. Sometimes you just get those inclinations. I have them going 8-9. When I look at Denver, I'm seeing a lot of winnable games from the sense of toss-up games. Where like I could see them beating Seattle, but I could see them losing, or Pittsburgh. But then I could see them really rising to the occasion against, the Jets. I could see them really rising to the occasion against Kansas City. They always seem to play Kansas City well once a year, or Cincinnati. But then losing a lot of games that they probably shouldn't, like Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Indianapolis is kind of a toss-up. So it's a difficult team to really measure. Your positives are this. You have now another year of this team getting converted to a Sean Payton-friendly team, and you have a quarterback that Sean Payton is friendly with. He really likes Bo Nix. Bo Nix has not looked bad in the preseason, but it looked pretty basic in the preseason, so I'm not really buying into Bo Nix at this point. I didn't hate Bo Nix coming out of college. I had positive thoughts about him, but I didn't think he was a world beater of quarterback. So, in what I'm seeing, I'm seeing a little bit more of the detriments than that. So, and I also don't think there's a lot of positive contributions on the defense at all outside of Patrick Surtain. So that's your negative. I think there's hope in Denver because I think you're going to look better and more competitive, but I don't think it's the kind of hope in which we're going to make a playoff. So they could swing it. I also wouldn't be shocked if they won 5 games. I don't see a positive swing up to double-digit wins. That's just people buying into Sean Payton, and I don't see that. All right, we're going to Detroit now. Detroit, another team that I'm going to probably piss some people off with. Detroit, I have going 10-7. Detroit played a lot of close games last year, and another tie back to the ONETA Football Show. Brandon speaks of it very, very well. Jared Goff is an easy to figure out quarterback, and ranks dead last when it comes to pressure rates and his success in a lot of categories. So there's your negative, and I think this team is good. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say Detroit's a bad team. I don't believe that. I don't believe Detroit is a bad team at all. However, I think Detroit overachieved a hair last year, and I think the vast majority of the country at this point is they're buying in as if they're automatically going to the Super Bowl, and I don't see that happening. I if you told me Detroit's going to win the Super Bowl, could I see it? Maybe. I could envision it happening, but I think a lot needs to break their way for that to happen. I don't even think they're the most talented team in their division. And yeah, I'm a Green Bay homer, but Green Bay has shown that. I could see them going as little as 8-9. But I could also see them winning 12 if things broke their way, which is why I kind of broke the tie and just went 10-7. There's hope, but I don't think there's Super Bowl hope. I think that's what a lot are expecting of. And I don't believe Detroit's a Super Bowl. I think if they were going to win the Super Bowl, last year was their year. This year, it feels too we're building into something, and it feels like they could even miss a playoff if things go wrong for them. I know that's so easy to say when you don't know. Like, oh, of course, if something goes wrong, anyone could lose. Of course, that's true. But I'm just saying, in a different context, I'm not talking catastrophic injury. I'm just talking missed field goal. Turf monster shows up out of nowhere, and someone slips and falls. You lose a game to a lot of circumstances. And last year they got a lot of breaks going their way. This year it could be different. I'm going 10-7. And then we'll go straight to Green Bay, stay in the division. I have Green Bay with a strong 12-5 record. Here's why I'm bullish on Green Bay from a team perspective. The positive is obviously Jordan Love has really matured into. You saw it through the end of the year. The positives of Jordan Love. By the way, I didn't really give much of a negative on Detroit. Detroit, your defense is still suspect. That's your issue. I want to be fair. You really didn't fix your corner positions very much, and your safety positions, man, that's a problem. Now, Green Bay. I have them 12-5. Here's what I love about them. Here's why there's a lot of positives. Actually, I'll start negative. It's sample size. Sample size is the negative. You have an unknown on defense, and you have a half a season of being really special. Okay. That's a negative. So you could see this team. I could see Green Bay going 9-8 if things don't break their way. I don't foresee that happening, but I could see it happening if things don't work out. But here's what I love about Green Bay: positivity. Jordan Love has been shown to really progress. And when you look at the games last year that people always say, oh, he was so bad or he struggled, you see growth and maturation, and you still see those plays that were being really successful at the end of the year. You still see glimpses of that early on in the year when everyone was saying he's struggling, he's so bad, he's not going to make it. That's not the case when you go look at it. You look at, I look at the Pittsburgh game where he played pretty well and started letting it rip a little bit more. The New Orleans game, Atlanta, he was playing really well and things just got out of hand. There's a lot of games in which you see development of that quarterback and just not pulling the trigger that he should have as much, or hesitation, and then he stopped doing that. And there's a lot of growth and maturity in that continuity that they've all grown together now. So that's where I see Green Bay could be a real player. I mean, frankly, for 95% of the game, they outplayed San Francisco. They should have been in the NFC Championship game in Detroit. And I could have seen them going to the Super Bowl and being Detroit and playing Kansas City. That's how good that team was last year when they were progressing and getting hot. But it wasn't necessarily, oh, we're on a hot streak. It was more so we are finally understanding and getting it, and we're executing it the way we are capable of doing it, not the, oh, hey, well, we're just getting lucky. That's not the case with Green Bay. So I'm going 12-5 in Green Bay with a signature win over Philly in Week 1. And we'll talk about that on Thursday's show. Let's go to Houston. A lot of people high on Houston. I think Houston's going to be pretty good at 11-6. I don't understand the Super Bowl predictions for Houston. I don't think they're there yet. I think they have some coverage issues to go through a negative, and another negative is I think their pass rush didn't necessarily get better or get worse. It just kind of stayed neutral, which I don't think was tremendous. Danielle Hunter's an upgrade, but she lost a couple other guys, so and Grenard and other players. So I don't think you're necessarily just better because Houston got better. Stephon Diggs is going to help for a little bit, but I don't know if that's long term. However, you're positive CJ Stroud and a lot of continuity on the offense. Things are getting better and you're healthy. That's where you are. I have Houston going 11-6 with a 3 seed winning the South. I don't understand the Super Bowl, but I could definitely understand an AFC Championship game appearance if things break for them. Alrighty, we're rolling here, guys. We're rolling. We're going to Indianapolis here. We might take a small pause for the cause once we go through some players on team. Alrighty, so here's the thing with Indianapolis. I have them 9-8. I have them as the streaky team this year, where you can look. I have losing streak, winning streak, losing streak, winning streak, losing streak. I just don't know what to make of them. They're not as talented as people like to give them credit for that are positive, but the people who think are negatively about them don't give them enough credit for the talent that they do have. It's a very strange dynamic in Indianapolis, I think Shane Steichen's a good coach. He showed that last year. Um, I'm concerned about the health of Anthony Richardson, in which he's just not pulling the trigger on throws that he should yet. It doesn't feel like he's confident in the shoulder. I have great concerns about that. Positivity is you have a freak athlete who's going to figure it. Indianapolis is just such a wild card that makes no sense. That's the biggest difficulty I've had, which I gave them 9-8. But there's always a streaky team that they just go on these long runs out of nowhere. That's what Indianapolis kind of feels, um, regardless of whether it makes sense or not. Kind of how the streaky team. We'll go to Kansas City here, folks. And we'll end after Las Vegas for a second. Just take. But no, we're not going to Kansas City. We're going to Jacksonville. What am I talking about? Jacksonville. Sorry, but you're unforgivable. Don't have. But it's okay. Kansas City after you. Fine. But let's go to that fucking Mark Tony Khan's team in the Jacksonville. Jacksonville. I have going 9-8 again. They're the wild card team. That makes no sense, and I have them just making the playoffs as the second in a very tight AFC. Here's my thing with Jacksonville. When they should lose, they win. Or play really competitive. When they should win, they fucking lose and they get embarrassed. It makes no sense. I don't think this team has improved to make Trevor Lawrence that much better. I have not bought into Trevor. I know a lot of people are watching a lot of tape right now saying, oh, Trevor played a lot better than people give him credit for, and he was injured, and Calvin Ridley, Elvin Ingram, and team kind of failed him. I can understand that. Brandon's a big believer in that as well over on the football show, which I get, but Jacksonville's done nothing to get better. Brian Thomas Jr. might be a good player addition, but nothing about them says, yeah, we got so much better, we're going to make a push, and their offensive line's so much better, and they're going to protect Trevor Lawrence. I don't see that. I see a team that continually loses pieces and replaces some pieces, or gets a piece here and loses a piece here. There's hope because you have Trevor Lawrence and a competent coach, but there's not, and that's a positive. But the negatives, you just this weird ether team that hasn't figured out their shit, and that's why I'm going 9-8 over in Jacksonville, and I'm just not high on them. I don't get the hype. But the team I do get the hype on is Kansas City, baby, the defending Super Bowl, the two-time champion, with a signature win over Cincinnati and Buffalo. Here, I'm going 12-5. A big thing for me with Kansas City is very simple. Patrick Mahomes is there, Andy Reid is there, Travis Kelce is there, Chris Jones is there, Steve Spagnuolo is coaching. Everything in place continuity-wise that really hammers a team home, Kansas City has. That's positive. Negatives. You are injured at the moment. You lost a couple pieces on the offensive side of the ball, and defense, you did lose some pieces in the free agency. You've theoretically replaced them, but you don't know how well that's going to go right away. Kansas City's looking like it's trying to turn the corner back into a high-powered offense and not so much win through the defense and control the ball anymore like they did last year, which would be great because we want to see Patrick Mahomes high-flying and tremendous. But at the same time, the negatives are you don't have as much of the continuity on defense as you probably like. But you still have a lot of great pieces with Trent McDuffie there, Karlaftis with another year, Chris Jones is still obviously there, Leo Chanel's still there. They're still good contributors on that team. I have them going 12-5, and frankly, don't be shocked if they're my Super Bowl prediction. Because they're always my Super Bowl prediction. Because until someone beats Patrick Mahomes, they probably always will. That's simple and easy here. We're going to go Kansas City, a B, with 12-5 record. A lot of positivity to possibly be the first three-peat. Alrighty here, folks. We're going back to a sad case. And a team that I think is going to be bereft of happiness pretty much all season long, and that is the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay. First and foremost here, guys. The Raiders have no quarterback. The Raiders have Davante Adams on offense. On defense, they have Christian Wilkins. That's a great pickup. And Max Crosby. And then nothing. So Las Vegas, I'm seeing a tailspin into 4-13. Don't be shocked because of inadequate quarterback play when they barely win. I have them beating Kansas City because Kansas City always has a bonehead loss to them somehow. But don't be hopeful if you're a Raiders fan. Don't hurt your feelings. It's not worthwhile. 4-13. I don't want to berate it anymore. But we're already halfway through this year league here, guys. This year league here, guys, and it's pretty cool, isn't it? But we're gonna go back to some scheduling stuff after a quick pause. You guys can get one more reminder. Go check out our Etsy shop. Go to ptecreative.etsy.com and go get yourself some real cool merch and reward yourself. So important to do so. And help us out. We'd love it. Well, we're back here from our nice pause for the cause, and we got another half of the NFL to talk about here. With the long dramatic pause. But we are here coming out of Las Vegas. We're going to the LA Rams. The Rams of Los Angeles. They're another weird team here in the wild card. In a wild card here. I don't think Cooper Kupp is the contributor he used to be. I think that was shown even when he was healthy last year. He wasn't healthy for long, but when he was healthy, I don't think he's the contributor he used to be. I don't think Puka Nacua is a flash in the pan. That's not what I'm saying, but he's going to probably have regression simply because you're going to have more target share. Plus, Matthew Stafford's there are reports he's talking retirement, other stuff. I don't necessarily buy into the once you think about retirement, you should get out now. I don't buy into a lot of that stuff, but he is getting more injured on a frequent basis. He used to be such an Iron Man in Detroit, and he's just kind of breaking down a little bit. And that defense doesn't really have any solutions to some of the problems that they used to. They just let a young linebacker go, Ernest Jones, for no real reason. So it's tough in Los Angeles to really see it. I have faith in their offense, which is why I'm picking them for a 10-7 record. But I could see them going as low as 7 wins. I didn't do it because the Rams always proved to be a successful team, but it feels like the dam is breaking, and this year the dam's finally going to cascade. It's just the way it feels, but I'm hoping they can stave off one for hopeful Rams fans. We'll go to Chargers next. Here's a team I was shocked I was this high on. If you want to say there's a team I'm too high on unnecessarily, the Chargers are the obvious pick at a 12-5 record that I predicted, with a signature win over Cincinnati. This one I completely understand if someone wants to say, you're way too high on the Chargers. Frankly, when I looked at the records that I made, yeah, I might be. I just think that they have the right person in place, which is the positive here. The right person in place to fix the issues that they constantly have. The Chargers have never been a talent-poor team. That's never the problem. Injuries are the problem, and inconsistent or bonehead coaching. You don't have either of those. You don't have the bonehead coaching issue with Jim Harbaugh. They've gotten rid of, but they've let go of a lot of players with some of that injury history or some of the aging players. And you've gone to a team-friendly system in which it's not all on Justin Herbert. He's going to finally have some help, which is hopefully going to help him develop even further to being that big threat that the Chargers should be with a quarterback, the talent level of Justin Herbert. I'm going 12-5. I could see that going wildly different. They can win 8 wins. I still think that's an improvement, but this team I think can be a real playoff contender in the AFC. I have them going. They lose to the tiebreaker to Kansas City, so they'd be my 5 seed. It actually means, sorry, Jacksonville, I have you out of the playoffs. Deuces, bye. But I have the Chargers being my 5 seed and being a real threat with Jim Harbaugh's coach. I think that's a huge positive. Your negatives are, can you turn that corner fast enough? and make this a big run. All right. After that, we have a team I am not high on at all, and that's Miami. If you've listened to the ONETA Football Show on Thursdays, especially the last couple with Brandon, um, we both have a lot of issues with Miami. Tua is not dependable health wise. Tua is also not dependable play. That's a fact. Tyreek Hill is a year older. Jalen Waddle is getting beat up. Um, that's a huge problem because Waddle helps a lot with things in that offense to make it better and get some pressure off of Tyreek Hill because, frankly, there will always be pressure on Tyreek. The thing is with Miami, they collapse in cold weather. They collapse because they don't have a full team. They have a top heavy team with not a lot of depth. You're depending on a lot of players with injury histories that just don't give you hope. The positive is this: you have Tyreek Hill and you have a flying offense at the beginning of the year is going to blow people out of the water. There's your positive. Your negative is this: injury history is not with you. Your quarterback's history is not with you to get long-term success. And that, my friends, is why I do not have any hope for Miami, and that's why I don't know if it's a bold prediction or not. I have them missing the playoffs. Just don't have a lot of hope. We go to Minnesota. Minnesota's another one that could break stuff for me in this. I have them going on a 5-12 record because I think they lost a lot of talent, but they still have Justin Jefferson. They still have a good functioning offensive line, or a better offensive line, or at least average, better. But you have Sam Darnold at your starting quarterback position. You just lost J.J. McCarthy, who's going to be your hope for, even if you have a down year, you're progressing at quarterback. Now you've lost that opportunity, which really sucks. I think they could still match up well against a few teams, but you just saw that once they lost Kirk Cousins last year, once they lost that quarterback to really back them, plus then they lost Justin Jefferson, that offense was non-existent. So TJ Hawkinson you still don't have for 5 or 6 games. Plus you have Justin Jefferson coming off an injury, which is fine. I have all faith Justin's going to be fine. But you don't have a quarterback to use him anyways. So how well can you do? I'm going 5-12 with Minnesota. And they were part of the no hope category for us over on the last edition of the ONETA Show for you. Alrighty. New England. I'm going to make this short and sweet. 2 wins. I think you're the most talent poor team in the league. Positives, you have Drake May, and you can hopefully let him play and develop this year. That's positive. Negative is this: I think you're the most talent poor team in the league, who's not going to win many games, if any. And you don't even have the great number 1 quarterback coming up this year that people are going to want to trade up for. At least it looks like. So, sorry, New England, I have no hope for you. Straight up. Alrighty, New Orleans. New Orleans is another team. No hope. Don't hope for this team. I have them going 4-13. Now, people might say, that's crazy. What? Like, what? How could you say that? New Orleans has been on the verge of collapse, and you can see it in their play for the last 3 seasons. They are old, they're injury prone, they are expensive. All 3 of those are not a good recipe for success. Derek Carr is shown to be extremely consistent. Outside of Chris Olave, I don't think they have a single really high quality piece on offense to help them. You're still starting Alvin Kamara in the backfield. You're still using Taysom Hill a lot, and Taysom Hill looks like part of the better parts of your offense. That's highly problematic, man. And it's every year someone who was due for a collapses. New Orleans been overdue for a collapse for almost 3 to 4 years. They were due for a collapse in Drew Brees' last year with them. It's just this. This is what happens when you let a team crumble. And that's what New Orleans has done. And I'm going 4-13. I have no hope for them. We're going to go to the G-Men here. And the Giants. The New York Giants. All due respect to my boy Brandon, who's a lifer for the Giants. dude. No, maybe I didn't do my numbers right. Oh well, whatever. Uh, the the Giants are a really hard case for me because did they get better? Absolutely. I think they got better. I think they are going to have a functioning offensive line. I think Malik Neighbors is going to help that offense really open up. That's a huge positive. Your negatives are this. And your defense got a lot more solid with that Brian Burns trade. My negatives are simple. They didn't fill a lot of the holes besides that. And they still don't really have any weapons outside of Malik Neighbors. Um, and you have Daniel Jones coming off an injury still as your quarterback, who's still wildly unproven, if not proven to be a negative. So I have them going 7-10. I think they get better. I think they get a lot more competitive, which is great, and it's something to be hopeful about in New York. I just don't see them making the push to 8-9, 9-8, 10-7, which I think could be the ceiling for that team if everything broke their way. So I'm not going to give you the Hard Knocks bump. I'll let so many people. Oh, the Hard Knocks, I don't believe them. Cleveland was on Hard Knocks and they absolutely sucked. Or no, I'm sorry, not that year, but another year prior. A lot of teams that are on Hard Knocks are on Hard Knocks for a reason because they weren't that good to begin. So uh, I think they got better, and I'm hoping for them to get better, especially for my friend's sake. But nonetheless, I just don't see the output to make this team a fringe player. I just don't see it. All right, and that is another 8 teams down. Well, actually, that was 7 teams, but nonetheless, I forgot Denver belonged in the other one. So whatever, that's fine. That happens. But we're down to our last 25% of the NFL. We're going with the Jets. The Jets. I'm shocked that I gave them as many wins as I did. I don't think they're as good as the amount of wins as I gave them, but I gave them 10-7. Uh, you see wins against teams that they should beat, with maybe an outlier like Houston or the Rams, maybe Miami or Seattle, teams that they probably shouldn't beat, but they can. I know they're capable of it talent wise, but then they lose games that they definitely should lose, like San Francisco, Buffalo, those kinds of games. This all comes down to the wildest thing I've ever said in my life. If Aaron Rodgers can play quarterback, which is insane, because obviously he can. But is this team going to coalesce? It's like a lot of these teams. I look at New York, positives there, but the negatives weren't. Miami, Chargers, Rams, all big positives are they have these big talent pools, some way, shape, or form, if they coalesce. But nothing's riskier here coalescing than the Jets. Garrett Wilson's a great piece. Mike Williams, do not rely on him because Mike Williams is almost always injured. That's Mike Williams' career. Hope he doesn't. He's almost always injured. You have a 40-plus-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury who already showed in his last year in Green Bay not to be the highest level player that he once was. So is he going to magically be an MVP again? I doubt it. For the sake of the Jets, I hope it does happen, but I don't see that happening. I'm not wishing ill upon Aaron Rodgers either. But you have a team that their defense was really good last year, but it still broke a lot of times because it was under constant duress. It's all about coalescing, and the Jets never coalesce, man. I'm giving them 10-7, but I'm not crazy about that 10-7. And I could see them lose. I could see them winning 7 games. Really good. I could see them winning 11 games. But anyone who's saying Jets Super Bowl, no, the Jets aren't winning a Super Bowl, straight up. But do you have hope to be a playoff team and be relevant again? Yes, you do. So hope to you there. Philly. Philly. This is a team who I also think could break my predictions solidly. I gave them 11-6. Anyone who believes that the end of last year magically, oh, it was a fluke, it was a one-off. There, I don't believe you at all. There's some bad juju in Philly. And I don't believe in Nick Sirianni as a head coach at all. I think he's an absolute chump. absolute chump of a coach. Um, Now, defensively, they have some question marks that are my negatives. Their positives are this: like, offensively, continuity wise, outside of losing Jason Kelsey, which is a big loss, by the way, but outside of losing Jason Kelsey, they pretty much just souped up and are the exact same continuity wise. And offensively, they are still going to be fine. Your issue is defense and coaching. And I think Nick Sirianni's lost that locker room. I don't think people have faith in Nick Sirianni. And it was showcased last year, and they had no business even making the playoffs the way they were playing last year, and it showed in that playoff game that Tampa kicked. Tampa didn't just win; Tampa kicked their ass, and that's where I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be shocked if Philly won 7 games and collapsed. Now, if you listen to the ONETA Football Show, you'll know I absolutely hate the Philadelphia, but I'm also fair. This team's too talented for me to predict them to win 7 games. No, I didn't do that. I predicted 11 wins, and for them to be a playoff team and a good team. But I have to trust my gut. There's something about Philly that's just wrong. I get the same thing with Philly and Dallas. And I was proven right last year because it's the truth. And not that my feelings are automatically truth. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just when you get a feeling, your gut feeling, you gotta kind of go with it when it makes sense. It makes sense that these teams aren't gonna come through. I'm giving them 11-6. I'm trying to be an unbiased professional, but we'll see how it goes. There is hope there because you have so much offensive talent. But are you the same as you once were? I don't know. We'll see. Then we go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. I'll keep it sweet and simple again. 6-11 record. It's the end of the Mike Tomlin never has a losing season record. I'm going 6-11. When this team does not have T.J. Watt, it's a huge problem. T.J. Watt gets injured, unfortunately. He's great while he's not injured. The seasons that he's played at full strength, he's almost always the defensive player of the year or in the rankings to get there. TJ Watt's a great player. Other than that, Pittsburgh hasn't done anything to really get better. Your positives are this: you have Mike Tomlin as your coach, who's a hell of a damn coach, who's a hell of a good damn coach. That made no sense. A damn good coach. That's what I'm trying to fucking say. But you're relying on him and a star. Those are your positives. You still have that. He can coach defense. Okay, Pittsburgh's got that. Positive. Negative. Russell Wilson's your starting quarterback. Done. You're going 6-11. Oh, by the way, your backup, Justin Fields. You're going 6-11. You're not winning that much. Alrighty, San Francisco. San Francisco, I got 12-5, the head of the NFC here, with a win over Green Bay, making them the best team in the NFC. Here's my big thing with San Francisco. There's a weird vibe in San Francisco right now that just doesn't coalesce well for me. Now, I know it sounds broken recordish when you're looking at some of the biggest threats in the NFC, and the only one you're really positive on is your team. I admit that doesn't look good, and I'm honest. My issue is with this. San Francisco already has all the continuity in the world, without question. Outside of a rotational pass rusher, they didn't really lose anything either. That's great on San Francisco's. I don't understand the Ricky Pearsall pick. That makes no sense. Christian McCaffrey looks slightly banged up, which is problematic. He got paid, but he looks slightly banged up a little bit. Trent Williams, apparently that issue's been solved. That's great. All your issues that you thought could be really, really bad, that's the positive for San Francisco. They're going to be a good team. The question is, my negatives are, did they necessarily get better? I'm not sure. And no, it's hard to say that with a team like San Francisco. Did they get better? But when you look at Baltimore, even though they lost a lot, they did aggressive changes to try to get better. I don't see that in San Francisco, and I just saw a lot of squabbling and infighting. And also, with respect, I want to say, Ricky Pearsall, hope you heal up really well. I know you're in stable condition as of the last reports. A rookie wide receiver getting shot over a robbery attempt is fucking insane. So, all due respect to him, I hope he does really, really well in his healing process. And that has nothing to do with football. That is everything. Hopefully, everything goes really well for him. But it's just something weird in San Francisco right now. Dude, there just is. I don't. They're not going to collapse. They're not Philly. They're not Dallas. They're certainly not Dallas. There's just something weird going on with them. I don't know what it is. I'm still going 12-5, and don't be shocked if they're in a Super Bowl. Alrighty. Home stretch. Seattle. Seattle a little bit higher on. I like Seattle with a 10-7 record. Here's the thing with Seattle. They got better. Now, hard to say. Is this. In Seattle, you have a new coach and you have a few new defensive pieces. So, negative is, do you get the continuity right away that you need to be successful? I'm not sure. Your positive is this. You have a consistent offense with a lot of continuity and a young star receiver growing into the role. Jackson Smith-Njigba became a player at the end. And you got rid of the specter that was the old guard. I love Pete Carroll. I'm a huge Pete Carroll fan. I think he's a hell of a football and deserves a world of credit. I truly believe Pete Carroll is a wonder of a head football. But the ghosts of Pete's past never really left in terms of that Legion of Boom era that just kind of hung on. They tried doing it for too long and then they never really fully transitioned back into something new. They just kind of were. It feels like those ghosts are kind of gone. And from all reports in the building, everything doing really well. Seattle looks like they're really primed and ready to make a big charge here. So I'm going to go high on them. And I think they have continuity with Geno. I think they have continuity in a lot of places. So positively, I'm going 10-7 in a playoff berth for Seattle. Good for you, Seattle. Hope. Tampa. Tampa's a difficult one. I switched them to be 8-9. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 8. Making a late playoff push with missing the boat. Tampa has a lot of talent. The issue is Tampa didn't do anything to really get better. Mike Evans is a year older, which he decided to stay in Tampa. Baker Mayfield, is this where he is now because he played well last year, or did he play above his station with Dave Canal? So it's the unknowns of what is life without Dave Canales is the negative. The positives, you still have a ton of talent there. That's without question. But the negatives are very simple. It's continuity. You lost your offensive coordinator. Losing an offensive coordinator when you're good is very different than losing a defensive coordinator. I do not want to belittle the defense. Defense is very important. But we see defenses when they lose a coordinator drop, but not crater usually. We see offenses when they lose a great coordinator, unless there's continuity from the head coaching position, which there's not in Tampa Bay. They really take a step back. And Dave Canales has a history of raising those players up. And I don't know if that's going to swing up for Tampa. And they're kind of, again, they have that Seattle thing where they have the ghosts of Brady and they're not transitioning to something new. So I have 8-9. I wouldn't be shocked if they won 5 games, but they surprised me to win 9 games, eke out 10 wins. I'd be like, didn't see that one coming, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Final 2 teams here. Sorry, I have no faith in either of you. Tennessee. A weird one. I know they got a new head coach. They got a few new pieces. Calvin Ridley's there now. Their offensive line got a little bit better with Skoronski last year. And a good pickup on the offensive line this year. That's great. Bill Callahan is going to be coaching their offensive line. They are going to take a step forward. That's for sure. Positive is Bill Callahan, really, and your offensive line growing and getting better and hopefully making Will Levis a better. That's good. That's a huge positive. Negatives of this: your defense is still suspect with a lot of holes and injury-prone players, and you still don't really have any offensive identity. If Calvin Ridley's still your best target option, that's a problem. That's straight up just a fucking problem, in my opinion. So I'm going 6-11 on Tennessee. In Washington, it's not a similar story, but a similar viewpoint in terms of where you are. Washington kind of just is an amalgamation of players right now. They don't really have an identity. I said they had hope in our Hope or No Hope episode last week on the ONETA Football Show. And I said that mostly because this is a team that finally has a starting quarterback and is looking to get past the specter of Dan Snyder, the worst owner in team sports, and really turning the page into something new. To me, that's hope. Play on the field, I think you're going to be fun and competitive because you have Jaden Daniels just running around making some plays from time to time. But having said that, you don't have that many offensive options. You just traded away a first-round pick from 2 years ago, so that's sad. Terry McLaurin's still your best receiver. Running back, Brian Robinson Jr. could play. I like Brian Robinson Jr. But positives, you have a new quarterback, you're getting rid of the specter. That's great. Negatives, you have no identity anymore. And I don't think Dan Quinn is going to give you an identity. I think Dan Quinn's going to make you better, but I don't think he gives you an identity in which we're going to play hard-nosed defense and we're going to do this and that. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator. But his coaching run in Atlanta as a head coach doesn't say, I give identity, I make teams great because I make them great. It's the amalgamation of the parts, such as Kyle Shanahan while he was there, or other coaches as well, to make those teams that Dan Quinn had better. So that's the issue I have. I think they're going to be fun with Jaden Daniels, but I'm a little concerned they're not going to get past the fun stage and they're going to win 6. So that's what I would say with Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. That is I have predicted every team's record. I am crazy, wild, and exhausted. But we got one game to preview just in case. We cannot really get in the ONETA Football Show before kickoff on Thursday. So let's get to a quick little preview, not of my Pokemon, because that's ridiculous. But if you want to see those Pokemon, on Wednesdays, the Pokemon Bliss and Oblivion Project. But we got the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Baltimore Ravens for AFC Championship rematch and the kickoff to the 2024 NFL. You have a 2-time defending Super Bowl champion trying to make history and be the first team during the Super Bowl era to win 3 championships in a row. That is a reason to watch this alone. You have Patrick Mahomes now with more speed-based options on offense, trying to, with Andy Reid coaching, become the offensive juggernaut that they used to be. Or at least get closer to what they used to be and give them a different facet than they had last year. That is a reason to watch and fun and exciting. The thing is, you're playing a team in Baltimore that not only underperformed last year in the AFC Championship game, which is unfortunate, but a team that's ready and hungry to perform offensively really, really well. And they're healthy. Lamar is always great at the beginning of the year. Baltimore is always great at the beginning of the year because everyone's healthy and ready to go. Zay Flowers turned out to be a really good pick for them last year and is only developing more chemistry with Lamar Jackson. When it comes to offense, right now, moment by moment, early Kansas City kind of, unless they're the world beaters that they used to be, kind of comes out a little slow. So I'm looking for, defensively, I think they're pretty even. Holes, but otherwise good amalgamations of players. Kansas City's strength is their front end. Baltimore's strength is their back end with Kyle Hamilton. But offensively, I have to rely on Patrick Mahomes and an amalgamation of guys around him. You still have Kelsey, you still have Pacheco. That's great. Whereas Baltimore has their receiving core that intact that was good from last year was Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews is coming back off of injury, which is even better. Plus, they now have Derrick Henry in the backfield. It's an interesting case. I ultimately went with Baltimore winning this game. I'm going to give you the score 24-21. That could be an interesting one, to say the least here. 24-21 Baltimore. Baltimore just seems to win those big games early. That's kind of the reason I'm going with it. But it's not a panic button move for the Chiefs. We saw that same thing last year, and look what happened. They won a Super Bowl. So I'm just looking for the Chiefs to be exciting. But to me, the matchups come down to this. Can Kansas City attack vertically against that Baltimore? Because if they can't stretch as much, you're playing into their strengths of the middle of their defense and then allowing the athleticism of their back end to attack you and not allow those big yards after catch. That's a huge concern for me in that. Whereas Baltimore can attack a team historically that's not great against the run in Kansas City until they start gutting up towards the end of games. That's not really great against the run, and then has the pieces to vertically press the Kansas City defense back and allow Lamar to move a little bit more. That's where I think this matchup comes down to, which is why I'm giving 20 more for the season opener this Thursday night. Now, I will say this, my friend. That is every NFL game and a preview of the first game of the season. However, if you want to get a preview of every game this year, go check out the ONETA Football. If you want to see who I'm picking for the Super Bowl this year, and some more bold predictions and my playoff structure, my total playoff structure, you can see that on the Thursday edition, this coming Thursday's edition of the ONETA Football Show, brought to you by. I hope you've enjoyed this preview of the NFL season and our entertainment news and notes at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the episode. Please, thank you guys so much for watching. It is so appreciated. Really thankful for you guys watching or listening wherever you are, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you find us. If you want to stay in touch, check out our socials on TikTok and Instagram. Very cool. Look out for some. And I say new stuff. It's important to know. I don't know if you caught my tone when I said on the Thursday edition of the ONETA Football. We're now going 2 football shows in a week. So we're going to be pushing our programming back, and I will have a full video release on this pretty much every episode of everything for the next 2 weeks. Really give you the structure. Our Pokemon card pack openings are going to move to Sundays. We're going to try that for a while and see how that works. But it's because Monday is now getting the second ONETA Football Show, so we can react to all the Sunday. Tuesday, you're still going to see here, as you know it and love it, it's the ONETA Show. Great. Rotating topics, whatever we want to talk about. It's going to be fun. Wednesday is still Bliss and Oblivion Project with Pokemon. Fun. Thursday, it's the second ONETA Football Show of the week, where we're predicting the next week's game. And you can see this here. I'm going to announce a little bit more about it on the Thursday edition. I'm going to be picking every single game in the NFL season week by week, trying a big betting process. So if you're a gambler, you may want to check that out or even try it for yourself because it could be a lot of fun. Not necessarily listen to what I say, but see how math plays out per year. I've done this in the past and I want to try it again. So check that out on the ONETA Football Show every Thursday, where we're going to be previewing games and I have a lot of there. Friday, it's rotational shows, which we're going to get a few more specials coming soon, and more adventure shows, Lego shows, all kinds of that with the Brick Builder Show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Saturday, you're going to finish your week with some movie recs and some fun stuff over at the ONETA Movie Show. So be sure to check out all those new programming notes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look for new graphics, maybe some new intros, a lot of new fun stuff coming your way. Check it all out on PTE Creative. And if you want to support that and get even better, head on over to the Etsy shop. Like I said, go to ptecreative.etsy.com. There you can find some good merch. We're going to have some new merch to commemorate the new start of everything. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching wherever you are. It is always appreciated. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. I'll catch you next week on the ONETA Show.